There's a lot going on in the world that isn't everything else going on in the world. So in the spirit of balance, here is this. But stick around because this video, I fear, will take some turns.
It seems like you guys are always in the headlines for one reason or another, but recently, speaking of comedians, you've got Chelsea Handler, who I guess bought your house. She's had like a little bit of nasty things to say. What do you make about that? Like, is that just a cheap political shot, or what is she talking about?
Well, I think, yes, you have to question the timing of it, right? Because she bought this house 5 years ago and she's just now complaining about it, which is also, I don't know that she's getting a lot of sympathy from people. She's buying a $6 million house and talking about how she feels duped and that we tried to sell her a house that was, her word, toxic, which also doesn't make sense. The story doesn't really hold water, because I did write her a personal note when she moved in, just saying how much we love the house and I hope that she has a beautiful life in this house. And if you need anything, call me. And I left my number. So I don't know if we were trying to unload a toxic house on her, I wouldn't have left my number.
What you just watched was actress Cheryl Hines, the wife of RFK Jr., responding to comedian Chelsea Handler. Handler bought a house from Hines and Kennedy several years ago, but she's now saying that she never lived in the house because it was quote-unquote toxic. Questions arise, like why did Chelsea Handler buy a multi-million-dollar home that was, according to her, so toxic that it barely had a foundation? I don't know. Usually you get an inspection on homes before you buy them, but I guess some things slipped through the cracks, and this time the cracks were literally in the foundation again, according to Chelsea Handler. So here's what she said on her podcast. She said, the idea that this guy is in charge of the health of our country when he didn't even have a proper foundation at his house. I still have not lived in this house, she added, despite buying the mansion years ago. That's how effed up it is. Handler explained, when they opened up the house, they were like, this house is the most toxic environment. You cannot live here for at least 2 years. I'm not exaggerating any of this. It was a disaster, and I didn't know it going in because everything was under wraps. While I'm sure it's nice to be in a position in life where you can just buy a $6 million house with such limited information, it is hard to feel bad for Chelsea Handler, but she's not asking anyone to. Cheryl Hines said that Handler's not going to get much sympathy, but she's not looking for any. That said, I can't imagine what it would be like in any Kennedy Hines household. I never had a problem with Hines until recently, I guess. I used to watch her all the time on Curb. But you know what they say, it's not always a good thing to get to know people better, because Cheryl's husband, RFK Jr., has been making headlines for his questionable interactions with dead animals again. The New York Post recently published a snippet from the upcoming book, RFK Jr., The Fall and Rise. That book's out next month, but the author claims to have had access to several of RFK Jr.'s private journals. That's 1,200 pages of the man's deepest thoughts. And here is what the excerpt said. It would foreshadow Bobby's later life, such as when he scooped up a road-killed bear on a New York State highway in 2014, dumping it in Central Park when he realized he needed to catch a plane. In his diary, he writes about cutting off the penis of a road-killed raccoon in 2001 while his kids waited patiently in the car so that he could examine it later. There were no updates on what came of his so-called investigation or what he did with the penis or its bones. Maybe those details are in the book. We'll all have to wait and see. The stories that have come out about RFK Jr. since he's been in the public eye, by the way, have had me say things on camera that I have never wanted to say on camera. He's got me out here talking about raccoon penis right now, and I'm never going to forgive him for any of that. But on a somewhat serious note, these stories are funny because they're insane, and on the surface, they're way less scary than 99% of the news that we get these days. However, let's put all of this into some kind of real-world, real-life context just so we can better understand who the people running our government and our lives actually are. So imagine you met a man at a party and later learned that he once stopped his car, told his children to wait in the car, got out of the car to approach a dead raccoon, then cut off the dead raccoon's penis, probably stuck it in his pocket like Napoleon Dynamite, and then announced that he wanted to examine it later. Personally, I would feel very unsafe around someone who was clearly unstable. I would never even want to stand next to this man ever again, let alone let him lead an entire department in my government. And of course, this isn't the first interaction he has had with dead wild animals. He has decapitated a whale and strapped its head to the roof of his car. He also had a bear carcass on him, but he was running late to the airport, so he just dumped it, dropped it off in Central Park. He also ground up baby chickens and mice in a blender so he could feed it to his hawk. None of this is normal behavior, but this man has people who identify as his followers. And honestly, to his followers, I sort of sympathize with them to an extent. I am someone who desperately would love to get harmful pesticides and carcinogenic chemicals out of our food supply. I would love to eat local, seasonal fruits and vegetables rather than getting bland and nutrient-stripped strawberries shipped to me from hundreds of miles away year-round. I pay close attention to the things I eat. I try to live an active lifestyle. I want cleaner food, cleaner water, cleaner air, all those things. And I don't just want them for me. I want them for everyone. I want those things to be financially accessible to people, at least more accessible than processed foods. I don't want to pay more money for vegetables that were grown in a sustainable way. I wish all vegetables were grown in a sustainable way. I want people to have access to an active lifestyle without having to pay for an expensive gym membership every month. But I can't support a man like RFK Jr. because his solutions to these problems are either stupid or non-existent. He's in a position where he has some authority to do something about all of the things he claims to care about, and instead he gave us more glyphosate in our food supply. Oh, and he got rid of red dyes, so thank you for that. Doesn't actually help me any because I don't eat Skittles, but thanks. So on top of that guy just being a giant weirdo to the point that he might even be dangerous, he's not even good at his job. But RFK Jr. is not the only one at the U.S. Department of Health. Dr. Oz is also there, and he recently released a video encouraging more Americans to get up and start walking.
He's on the move.
Let's go, Chris. Diane, just join me. I love walking. It's a whole special joy. Makes you think a little clearer, get outside a little bit, get your heart pumping. It turns out if you can walk just 20 minutes a day, it could save our country $100 billion in reduced health expenditures. That's why it's so important to create a little flash mob. Let's go, team. As you get moving and pick up the pace, get a little breathy if you can. We've got wonderful governors like Governor Green in Hawaii, bringing his state along. I want all the governors to consider doing the same thing. Get your troop together, get your tribe going, and get outside and get walking. Keep people active, and then celebrate with them. All right, come on, guys. Take it away.
Yes, Dr. Oz, who is the head of Medicare and Medicaid, wants Americans to walk more to save the government money, as if this government does anything for us these days. We see what they do with our money. We see all the money that they've taken in from tariffs and where they send it. They're sending it all to Iran. They're sending it all to Israel. All of our money is going out of the country. We are not getting anything back from this government. But okay, fine. Let's say we get up and start walking. Where in this car-centric hellscape would you like me to walk, Dr. Oz? Outside? Really? There's no trees for shade. They've cut down all the trees. There's not even sidewalks anywhere. Do not get me started on the way urban design intentionally makes people sedentary, cuts people off from their neighbors, and makes them very car dependent. Do not get me started. So that is a whole other topic for another day, so I'm going to leave it there. But I'll remind you that Republicans have sold the idea of individualism and personal responsibility to the American people, not because they necessarily believe in those things. They understand how important it is to have a network of support around you, and they benefit from the same kinds of networks that they tell the rest of us we don't need. But they sell you the idea of individualism precisely because if we are expected to take on the burdens of the world onto our own shoulders, we absolve them of any responsibility to us. We essentially do not even expect them to do their literal jobs. Instead, Dr. Oz can release videos of him doing yoga in a sweaty t-shirt as if he still has a talk show. And yes, that is a real video that's out there, and I'm not going to show it to you because gross. And we just look at all that and we say, this is good, this is enough. All right, that's it for me. If you got anything out of this, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more. Thanks.